Okay, I'm going to call this meeting to order. And before we begin this meeting, I wish to pay respect to the First Nations, both past and present, and acknowledge the important role First Nations people continue to play within our community. You have an agenda in front of you with one addendum item, which is an addition to business item 8, which is an update on the OPP community committee that Councillor Osborne will speak to. It was sent earlier this afternoon. So with that addendum, can I have approval of the agenda? In favor? Thank you. And I'm hoping that our last council meeting was setting a precedent of moving through things quickly, and that we will do number 2 in a row tonight. I do want to see if there's any disclosure of pecuniary interest and general nature thereof from anyone. Councillor Collins.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I wish to declare that I may have a pecuniary interest related to the following matter. Council meeting agenda item 7C, report number DPS BD 2021-002, parking agreements for water access properties as possible future real estate holding.
Okay, thank you very much. And I see Councillor Fellner has his hand up.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I wish to declare that I may have a conflict of interest, pecuniary interest relating to the following matter. Council meeting agenda item 7C, report number DPS BD 2021-002, parking agreements for water access properties, that we have family interest in water access properties.
Okay, thank you. When we come to those addendum items, the clerk will, I believe, put you in the waiting room for those addendums.
No, they're allowed to be present in the meeting, but they're not allowed to participate.
Okay.
If it's closed, I would have to.
Okay, so you can listen, but you cannot participate when we get to 7C.
Oh, okay.
So I have a motion that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby adopt the minutes of the regular and closed session meetings of Council held May 3rd, 2021 as circulated. Could I have a motion from Councillor Moffat?
I so move that motion, Mayor.
Thank you. And a seconder from Councillor Coles.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor of accepting the minutes? Thank you, and that is carried. We have KPMG. Okay, so the first agenda item is the consolidated financial statements. And I'll read the motion. That the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby receive the consolidated financial statements of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin for the year ended December 31st, 2020, and the audit findings report to the members of Council for the year ended December 31st, 2020, as presented at the regular meeting of Council on May 17th, 2021 by the firm KPMG. Could I have a motion to this effect from Councillor Osborne?
So moved.
And a seconder from Councillor Cole, Councillor Fellner, sorry.
Seconded, Mayor.
Thank you. And I will turn the meeting over to Mr. Garriock, is that correct?
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay. And I'm going to try and share this now. Can everyone see that presentation?
No.
Not
No?
yet.
No.
Still nothing?
Oh,
No.
Oh, Okay, well, we'll try a different screen. Oh, let me see here. Let me see. Just bear with me.
You have it on our iPads, Sam, right?
The 3. I think I've got this here in a second. Bear with me.
There we go.
There we go. How's that?
That's
Okay.
great. They see
Okay.
the introductory screen.
Like only 6 more months of COVID and I'll have this down pat. Yeah. So thank you very much for having me here this evening. I believe you just approved the financial statements for the year ended December 31st, 2020. Is that
We
correct?
have a motion on the floor, but we will not take a vote until we see your presentation.
Okay, thank you. So Michelle has presented the actual numbers in the financial statement package to yourselves. What I'd like to do this evening is just go through what we refer to as a findings report, giving you an overview of the audit report that we present to you, as well as the audit process and any issues that may have resulted from that audit. Please feel free to ask any questions as we go along here. So technically speaking, the only page in the package that belongs to KPMG is the independent auditor's report. The financial statements belong to Seguin. The audit report is really the net result of what we as auditors have done for Seguin and our conclusion on our work. It's addressed to the members of council, inhabitants and ratepayers of the corporation of the Township of Seguin. It's a fairly lengthy report. It's 3 pages long. However, it's also fairly standard. The first section we have here is the opinion section. And it says, we've audited the accompanying consolidated financial statements of the corporation of the Township of Seguin. Hello?
Hey, Grandma, so just
Hear
drop
you.
cards. Yep, just like that.
Am I okay to proceed?
Yes?
Okay.
Everybody else should have their microphone on mute while Mr. Garriock is speaking. That will keep the feedback less.
Okay. So again, we've audited the accompanying consolidated financial statements. And then if you look down here, perhaps the most important section of this report, in our opinion, the accompanying consolidated financial statements present fairly in all material respects the consolidated financial position of the entity as at December 31st, 2020, and its consolidated results of operations and its consolidated cash flows for the year then ended in accordance with Canadian public sector accounting standards. This is what we refer to as a clean or unqualified audit opinion. It tells you as members of council that we've come in as independent auditors, done the tests and procedures necessary to meet the standards of an audit, and based on those tests and procedures, we've concluded that the numbers and the statements appended to this report present fairly and accurately your financial position at the end of the year and your results for the year ended December 31st, 2020. That, of course, is the type of report you want to receive, a clean or an unqualified audit opinion. Under the next section, and I'll just run through these fairly quickly, the basis for our opinion, if you look at the last paragraph, we believe that the audit evidence we've obtained is sufficient and appropriate to provide a basis for our opinion. The next section deals with management's responsibility. And it highlights that management is responsible for the preparation and fair presentation of the consolidated financial statements. And again, you report under what's called public sector accounting standards, and that's basically government accounting standards. Then we go through the auditor's responsibilities. And if we look at the last paragraph here, one of those responsibilities is to communicate with those charged with governance regarding, among other matters, the planned scope and timing of the audit and significant audit findings, including any significant deficiencies in internal control that we identified during our audit. And that's what we're doing here this evening, communicating with yourselves with regard to the audit and allowing you to ask questions for us to present our findings. The report is dated May 17th, 2021, and that's under the assumption that the draft financial statements are approved this evening. So once again, we're issuing a clean or an unqualified audit opinion, and the financial statements are draft pending your approval this evening. One of the things that we highlight is that we have an audit posting threshold of $25,000. So what that means is, unless we find errors or misstatements that are greater than $25,000, we do not require them to be made. Okay. So we would look at things, our testing would include items less than $25,000, but if they didn't accumulate to more than that, we would not require or request an adjustment. Are there any questions on the independent auditor's report?
People want to ask questions, please put your little yellow hand up and I will identify you. I see no questions at this point.
Good, thanks.
Sorry, Councillor Moffat has a question.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mayor. Don, what was the materiality? Was it, if your posting is 25,000, is it materiality 250?
The materiality would actually be 500,000. Okay.
Thank you.
Again, we look at a lot of things smaller than that.
Yep.
The materiality just gives us a broad guideline at the end of the day.
And is that based on assets or revenues?
That's based on expenses, actually.
Okay, thank you.
Now, can you see that? How do I go backwards here? Nope. I apologize. You know what? I'm going to try this again. There we go. So unique to organizations that report under public sector accounting board standards is that there's a sign off by management acknowledging their responsibility for the financial statements. That is signed off by the CAO and CFO of Seguin. And this statement acknowledges that the preparation of the audited financial statements involves council, management, and your auditors. So management's responsible for the implementation of the accounting policies and the controls of the organization to safeguard assets. Council is responsible to meet with management and the external auditors to review the consolidated financial statements and discuss any financial statement reporting and internal control issues. And we're responsible to present the findings as we are this evening and express our opinion on those statements. So in formulating our approach to your audit, KPMG uses what we refer to as a risk-based approach. So we look at the organization, identify the activities, familiarize ourselves with the accounting streams and controls, and assess where the risks are to focus the audit work that we actually perform. So for each significant class of transaction, we obtain an understanding of the system and the business processes related to that and financial reporting. As part of that process, we would look at internal controls of the transactions and make a broad assessment as to their adequacy. The significant account class, or the significant classes of transactions that we look at are your revenue streams, the disbursements that you have as an organization. Payroll is a significant class, obviously, as is capital. In our understanding of the systems and controls implemented around each class of transaction is used in the development of our audit procedures. So just a broad overview of how we approach your audit. We use largely what's known as a substantive audit approach. Under the substantive audit approach, we perform sampling as well as analytical review. So in areas with high number of transactions, we test a statistical sample of those transactions. Samples are chosen based on a risk assessment process, and there's a focus on higher dollar value transactions. So if you were to look at your statement of financial position, for example, we would substantively sample and audit. For example, your cash, we would confirm balances. We would look at your reconciliations, and in there we would sample items in the reconciliation to gain assurance of the accuracy of those reconciliations. For receivables, we would tie in your receivables to revenues and subsequent receipts as part of that process. We would also look at the reasonableness of the amounts. We would also do an analytical review of your HST for reasonableness at the end of the year. When you look at items such as your capital assets, we would vouch significant or larger items in there based on sampling criteria and verify that they were capital in nature. With regard to your payables, we would vouch or sample invoices greater than a certain dollar amount. We would recalculate accruals. We would look at your estimates and recalculate your estimates and assess reasonableness based on substantive analytical review. One of the estimates you have is your landfill site, and we would obtain third-party verification of estimates of that landfill liability that you have in the books. As well, we always do something we refer to as the element of unpredictability. So we choose an audit test, which we would not have to do to express an opinion. What we do to, I guess, just to assess, any issues around potential errors or fraud. So in the past, we've done things such as looking at expense accounts and verifying authorization of employee and counselor expense accounts. This year, we looked at repairs and maintenance and did a sampling plan over invoices in repair and maintenance accounts to ensure that there were no items in there that were being expensed that should have been capital in nature. And again, these are areas where there is a higher risk of error or management override. Significant to note is that during the performance of our audit, we do not identify any audit misstatements or control deficiencies. If you look at, just to continue a little bit, and when you look at your, so on the statement of financial position side, largely substantive sampling and some analytical review, but heavily substantive sampling because it tends to be a more efficient way of gaining audit evidence versus analytical review. If you look at your statement of operations side of things, with regard to revenues, we rely heavily on third-party confirmation. We do use substantive analytical. For example, we rebuild your tax revenues. We would take the total assessment roll, apply your mill rates, and project what the tax revenue should be based on approved rates and that rent roll and the roll impact roll. And it has to be within a certain threshold for us to be happy with that number. And we would use substantive analytical on some of the other revenues that were less significant. With regard to your expenses, so professional fees, we vouch or we look at those items because of the risk associated with legal fees and professional fees with regard to unrecorded liabilities, potential unrecorded liabilities. As indicated, we looked at repairs and maintenance this year. And then we would use substantive analytical testing for the other items on your income statement. And again, KPMG has identified thresholds. And if the items are not within certain thresholds, additional testing and investigation is required. With regard to the audit itself, the audit is complete pending your approval tonight and receipt of the signed rep letter. We did receive the signed rep letter from Michelle this afternoon. There were no significant difficulties encountered during the course of our audit procedures. So we make the comment there were no changes to the initial audit plan. And the significance of this is, as part of the audit, prior to starting, we're required to plan out the procedures based on our knowledge of the organization. And when we say that there were no changes to the audit plan, what that tells you is that what we expected to find around the type of accounting systems and the strength of your controls, we did find when we came in to do the audit. So that's a positive thing. And there were no disagreements or difficulties with management during the course of our audit. Pandemic.
Question from Councillor Moffat.
Yep.
Thank you, Mayor. Actually, I'm going to let Don finish because he was kind of going in towards a question that, or a comment that may answer my question. So I'll just hold.
So with regard to pandemic implications, so we do have a financial statement note disclosure outlining what the potential impacts on the corporation might be. Last year, that was a subsequent events note. This year, it's just an ongoing item. And again, there were no unadjusted audit differences above the posting threshold. Questions?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Don. I noticed that our receivables have bumped up a little bit over last year, about $150,000. And I'm just wondering, just to your comment, circling back to the COVID comment, whether maybe not specifically for Seguin, but are you noticing in other clients, extended, let's call them extended terms with regards to receivables, some other things that are maybe a fallout of COVID?
Yeah, I would say generally that is the case, and it was an unfortunate reality of what was happening last year. You've always been, over the years, your receivables, when we looked at them compared to other municipalities, have always been very good from the perspective of percentage of total total taxes raised in the year. Unfortunately, we don't have the numbers for 2020 that we can compare you to other municipalities right now. But your collection policies and your processes around that tax receivables have always been strong. You've always also had the, I guess, the benefit of a very strong residential market value, right, to support the taxes that are in arrears. And I can't recall, and Michelle might correct me, where you've actually ever really lost out when you've had to collect on a property, but I stand to be corrected.
Thank you very much, Don.
And that concludes the presentation. Are there any other questions on the audit?
Everybody has the actual audit and the financial statements in their agenda package from kind of page 17 to 30. Are there any questions pertaining to the financial statements? Michelle, do you have anything to add to Mr. Garrick?
No, actually. We're getting used to this long distance auditing thing.
Yeah.
Quite sure how we're going to go back to having auditors back in the office again. But no, it was a good audit this year.
Good. Thank you very much. And
Thank you. Are there any other questions before we take a vote? Oh, so we have a motion on the floor to receive the financial statements for the year ending December 31st, 2020. I'll ask you, Mr. Gary, that's it. Now I can see the councillors. All in favor?
before I signed off.
Yeah. All in favor? So that is carried. Thank you very much. I know it's been an unusual couple audit years at a distance and people working from home, but we appreciate it and look forward to a different kind of year maybe next year. But we appreciate your work.
Hopefully. Thank you very much. Have a good evening. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Okay, we're moving on to item 6 on the agenda, and council will now consider the following shore road allowance application. For shore road allowance application number RAS 2020-0013-F for Sanawar on Otter Lake under bylaw 2021-033. Has anyone registered to speak to this application?
No one has registered to speak to this application.
Have there been any written objections received related to this application?
No written objections have been received.
I have a motion that bylaw number 2021-033, being a bylaw to close, stop up, and sell a portion of the original shore road allowance, application number RAS-2020-0013-F for Sanawar, is hereby deemed to have been read a first, second, and third time and passed by council. Could I have a motion from Councillor Collins?
Thank you, Mayor. I move that motion.
And seconded by Councillor Finson.
I second that.
All in favor? And that is carried. And now we have the deeming bylaw that goes with that. That bylaw number 2021-034, being a bylaw to deem Lot 25 of Plan 217, pursuant to Section 50(4) of the Planning Act, not to be on a plan of subdivision, property roll number 4903-003-004-05524, file number D 2020-0009-F, the owner is Sanawar, is hereby deemed to have been read a first, second, and third time and passed by council. Could I have a motion from Councillor Moffat?
I move that motion, Mayor.
And seconded by Councillor Coles.
I'll second that, Mayor.
Okay, all in favor of redeeming bylaw? And that's carried. So I have a motion that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby receive the staff reports as presented on the agenda for May 17th, 2021 meeting of Council. And there are reports coming from both Development and Protective Services and Community Services. Would I have a motion from Councillor Osborne?
So moved, Mayor.
And seconded by Councillor Fellner. Okay, thank you, Councillor Fellner. All in favor? Two. Okay, so the first one, James in here? Okay. All right, so I have a resolution here that I will read, and this relates to the West Perry Sound Economic Development Collaborative Terms of Reference, and we have James Cox on the line with us from the Economic Development Collaborative. So the resolution is, whereas the West Perry Sound Economic Development Collaborative is a partnership between the 7 municipalities of West Perry Sound, originally created in 2018 with a mandate to improve the region's business environment. And whereas member municipalities approve the West Perry Sound Economic Development Collaborative Terms of Reference in early 2018, which created a collaborative governance model involving a board of municipal stakeholders, a core group of advisors, a steering committee, and a regional economic development officer. And whereas the steering committee and the regional economic development officer are the only elements of this model that have been implemented to date. And whereas FedNor approved funding for a period ending November 2023 to hire a regional economic development officer for a 3-year term with contributing funding coming from member municipalities. And whereas all member municipalities passed resolutions of council in October 2020 confirming their commitment to the West Perry Sound Economic Development Cooperative. And whereas the steering committee and the regional economic development officer have recommended amendments to the West Perry Sound Economic Development Collaborative Terms of Reference in order to reflect current operating procedures and economic development priorities. And whereas the West Perry Sound Economic Development Collaborative structure requires a board of stakeholder municipalities comprised of heads of council or designates of the member municipalities to provide high-level strategic direction to the West Perry Sound Economic Development Collaborative. Therefore, be it resolved that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby adopt the updated West Perry Sound Economic Development Collaborative Terms of Reference as attached as Schedule A to this resolution. And that further, the council does appoint, and it is recommended it be the head of council, so I'm hoping you will agree to my name going in here, to the Board of Stakeholder Municipalities. Could I have a motion from Councillor Collins to this effect?
Yes. Yes, I so move that motion, Mayor.
Thank you, and seconded by Councillor Finson.
I second that.
Thank you. James, would you like to speak to it at all?
Thank you, Your Worship. Members of Council, thank you for having me tonight. You will have my report that was submitted to the steering committee of the West Perry Sound Economic Development Collaborative in your package, which lays out the proposed changes and in more detail. The main reason for this resolution at this time is that, as was said in the resolution, The terms of reference that were adopted by Seguin Council back when the collaborative was established in 2018 call for the establishment of a board of stakeholder municipalities to provide that high-level strategic direction from the member municipalities to the Economic Development Collaborative, and that has not been implemented as of yet. So in the interest of building sustainable economic development efforts going forward, we feel that it is the best time to move ahead with this at this point. I'd be happy to answer any questions that council may have.
Does anybody have any questions? James's report is comprehensive. I see no questions, and Councillor Moffat.
Thank you, Mayor. James, who currently has been appointed on this board that you're aware of to date?
So the mayors of Perry Sound, McDougall, and Carling Townships have all been appointed. The archipelago is considering the report at their meeting on Thursday, and I believe Whitestone is considering it next week. They have not made an appointment as of yet.
And McKellar?
I don't believe that McKellar has made an appointment either.
Okay, thank you.
So with your permission, I would like to put forward my own name to be the board representative for Seguin to complete the resolution. Are there any objections to me putting my name in the final line of the resolution? Okay. So we have a resolution on the table with my name as the appointee. All in favor of passing the resolution? Thank you. Thank you very much, James, and I understand you're a busy person in economic development, and we like to see that. So thank you very much for what I see coming across my desk on a regular basis.
Thank you.
Okay, we have an agreement here. And this is going to, Lauren, okay. I will put the motion on the table, and then we'll ask Lauren to give us a little bit of background. So I have a motion that bylaw number 2021-039, being a bylaw to authorize the execution of a license agreement between the Corporation of the Township of Seguin and Jeffrey Hunter Hogarth for part of the original shore road allowance between Lot 20, Concession 1, Geographic Township of Humphrey, now Township of Seguin, and Lot 16, Concession 14, Geographic Township of Medora, now the Township of Muskoka Lakes, is hereby deemed to have been read first, second, and third time and passed by council. I have a motion from Councillor Fellner. Okay, thank you, Councillor Fellner, and seconded by Councillor Collins.
I'll second that, Mayor.
Thank you, and I'll ask Lauren to speak to it. This is on my regular daily walks, and this is a road that starts in Seguin and ends in Muskoka. So that's why they're both in there. So Lauren, can you give us a little bit of background?
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. So the matter before you is a request to enter into a shared license agreement with the applicant, Mr. Hogarth, to cross over a portion of this shared concession allowance between Seguin Township and the Township of Muskoka Lakes. This will satisfy a condition of consent B 2020-0009H, which was provisionally approved by council on June 15th, 2020.
Are there any questions for Lauren?
No.
All in favor? Thank you very much. Thank you, Lauren.
Thank you.
I saw a beaver on this road this morning, so the beaver has right away. Okay, I have a resolution. As per recommendation of staff report number DPS-BD-2021-002, Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby direct staff to prepare, for council consideration, a bylaw to delegate authority to the Chief Administrative Officer or his designate, enter into parking agreements with water access property owners in certain situations to allow the issuance of a building permit to develop pre-existing building lots, and that any fees or costs associated with entering into said parking agreements be the responsibility of the applicant. I have a motion from Councillor Finson.
I so move.
Thank you, and seconded by Councillor Moffat.
I'll second that motion, Mayor.
Thank you, and I'm going to ask Curtis, I believe, to address this. We saw a little bit of this a couple meetings ago, but Curtis, can you give us some background?
Sure, Your Worship and members of council. We've had a couple of recent situations come up where a property owner has a water access property, and it's a requirement of our zoning bylaw as well as our official plan, where they need to produce a parking agreement, either with a commercial marina, a private property owner, some sort of agreement that demonstrates that they have parking facilities before we can issue a building permit for them to develop that property. In some cases, it's over restrictive where there is no commercial marina facilities available. In some places, the private property owners on the lake won't enter into those agreements for various reasons. The unequitable nature of this restriction is that a lot of these lakes do already have pre-existing water access properties where cottages have been built that predated the bylaw with legal non-conforming status, where they are able to obtain building permits and use our municipal facilities to access their properties. So in order to kind of close the loop and treat everybody in the same brush stroke, staff has put a report together here to bring the matter to your attention. We will be looking at this through the official plan review to see if we can better address these situations. But in the short term, the report suggests that council delegate authority to the CAO or his designate to issue these parking agreements in order to facilitate development of those lots.
Thank you. We have a couple of questions. Councillor Finson.
My question is, would the parking be for permanently have a lease agreement? And if that is the case, then do we have to issue license agreements for instance, the Rosso dock? Because we have island people there. Do we have to give them permits to park at the waterfront?
I suppose it identifies an opportunity to evaluate all of those situations.
Well, I think if you're talking about fairness, I mean, if we do license agreements for people who are developing, then they're going to have place to park when they live there. And we do have people on Lake Rosso that have cottages that don't have permits, that I don't know where they park their car, but they get to their island property and park somewhere, but we don't have any license agreements as far as I know at the waterfront. So if you pass a bylaw, does that apply to everybody who has island property or just the property that you're speaking of? Or do we have to review that and everybody gets a lease agreement that parks on an island?
I think that's sorry, through your worship to Councillor Finson, I think that's a larger issue than what we're looking to address with the report. That may be something that requires a study of off-street parking, how many spaces should be available per lake. Each lake is different. Some don't even have municipal access to them. So really there's an opportunity for further discussion from council as to how they want to address that moving forward. If we are going to look at every lake in every situation, or do we deal with the matters that crop up on an individual basis to address the permitting requirements individually?
I will remind you that Councillor Collins and Councillor Fellner cannot participate in this discussion because they've declared a possible pecuniary interest. But I do believe what the issue that Councillor Simpson is bringing up, the bigger issue, is part of the discussion at the official plan, and that's where it belongs. But in the interim, we don't want to stop people from doing what, in many cases, they were already partly doing, which is developing existing lots. But it needs to be addressed on a full township-wide basis, and I agree with you, Councillor Simpson, we need to do that. Councillor Moffat.
Thank you, Mayor. It kind of follows up on that. I'm just wondering, you know, I know, Curtis, that you're relatively new to the township. I'm wondering if there is, let's say, a backlog of, you know, island property development that's out there, or is it a rather small group of sample size that we're looking at, such that we can sort of knock off this small group to be able to deal with the larger issue that Councillor Finson has raised, you know, especially where we have, you know, some of the larger lakes, or, you know, where we have a lot of parking issues already.
So to answer your question, Councillor Moffat, through your worship, the situations that we are trying to address at this time are for pre-existing lots. I'm aware of 3 potential applications that will come in if this comes to fruition. I can't possibly identify how many situations are out there where people will want to enter into these agreements, and that just opens the discussion further about how we want to move forward and address these matters as a whole.
So if we're looking at the broader issue, then granted, as the mayor said, this is part of the official plan and our zoning bylaws, we may have a number of lakes that don't have municipal access that we're, you know, needing to address in short order, because if one gets it, then, you know, to some degree, everyone gets it. So I'm hopeful that maybe, I know our official plan process is not moving as quickly as what was anticipated, but this may be an issue that comes back rather quickly that we need to maybe as part of our official plan committee, maybe want to try to address, or see if we can pigeonhole something in there to try to, maybe Jason, maybe our CAO. Thank you.
Your worship, at the highest of levels, the intent of this report is to identify where we are restricting people from the issuance of a building permit because of a issue. I think there's a great bit of dialogue happening here that, in all fairness, we've got to take back to the steering committee for the official plan. The broader scope, the broader brush across all lakes, all island properties, one that justifies being formed as a part of our official plan. At the same time, we recognize that we have property owners wishing to develop their properties on right here, right now. And in the absence of this, our answer is no. And I don't believe that this council and community is looking for us to be saying no to people. We're trying to find solutions to the problems in front of us. And this is some historical roadblocks that were put in place to prevent further development on island properties. And in fairness, we're not giving them a carte blanche, build what you want, where you want, how you want. All of the applicable rules that are in place with development are still there. However, coming to agreement on a parking matter seems fairly insignificant in the broad scheme of.
Yeah, well, just to follow up to that, I guess what I worry about is the building gets completed by September, and then the individuals want to access their place and have no parking, because the parking situation that we're dealing with is only during the building period. And now we're coming back to, they need to find a place to park. Am I interpreting that correctly?
I'm happy to let Mr. Livingstone, but I'll just say that the arrangements are not for the duration of the build. The arrangements are for the issuance of a permit so that they can have access to their property. So I believe it is a longer standing thing than just the building window. But again, it addresses sort of the short-term need for a number of known challenges that we're facing, and we deal with the bigger, broader scope policy through the official plan.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Osborne.
Thank you, Mayor. To Curtis, I guess, and Jason. So Curtis, I think you mentioned you have 3 applications right now where applicants are prevented from building because they don't have accessible parking. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
So this would allow these three you have on the burner right now to move ahead with a permit if the township were to license a spot on township property. Can you give me an idea of what that fee would be to those applicants for a spot on mainland? Is it a standardized fee and is it an ongoing license fee annually?
Through your worship, Councillor Osborne, this is something that we'll consult with our legal counsel with to structure the agreement. We have to look at each individual case. The area of concern right now is on Isabella Lake, which there is an open access there. There's a municipal dock, there's a municipal boat launch, and there's ample space for parking. So I think that we'd have to look at it on a lake by lake basis and a case by case basis, whereas if there's improvements to be made to accommodate that parking, then those costs get structured into that agreement.
Oh, all right. So if there was a parking area that needed to be constructed, in other words, a cost that would be passed on to the applicants or divided by them or whatever. Now, what about a situation where you have an applicant who has an agreement with a mainland owner to use their property? Would you need, in order to issue a permit for that offshore property owner, would you need proof of an agreement with that private landowner that they have that parking flexibility? Or how does that work?
Through your worship, again, Councillor Osborne, the practice to date has been the applicant in those situations would bring in an agreement between himself and the private property owner that indicates that they do have a parking space to utilize to access the property. It's a fairly informal thing.
Okay, and while we're on the subject, and it maybe should come up through the OP review as well, on the same subject, a little bit of a variation. I have a community privately owned dock right now on a lake that has roughly 5 or 6 parking spots for 5 or 6 offshore property owners. And lately they've been requesting additional parking spots to be developed for their guests. What's your personal opinion on where a parking spot is assigned for an offshore, about them having multiple parking spots for guests or family or whatever? Have you been confronted?
Can I just suggest, I think this is a broader issue.
Yes.
The number of parking spots per property, it becomes, because you might have 3 kids that have cars, you might have visitors, you might have everything.
Exactly.
So I'm going to suggest on a specific basis, which you're bringing forward, Councillor Osborne, you consult with Curtis and the CAO, but we do need to make that part of the overall OP evaluation of water access properties. They're not always on islands, but they're water access.
Right. Okay, so that should,
we'll address it.
That'll come up in the review.
Yeah.
Good. Thank you, Curtis. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Are there any further questions? Okay, we have a resolution on the table to allow a property by property solution in the short term, but a commitment from the OP steering committee that this needs to be addressed going forward in a broader township-wide discussion. All in favor of the current resolution on the table? Okay. 5 votes. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. That's carried. Thank you very much, Curtis.
Mayor, point of order. Did you ask for a mover and a seconder?
Yes, I did. It was moved by Gail Stinson and seconded by Darrell Moffat.
Thank you.
Okay, I have a resolution that is per recommendation of staff report number CS-FC 2021-002. The Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby accept the quotes from Extreme Custom Carpentry for RFQ 2021-005 replace the roof shingles at Rosso Memorial Hall, and RFQ 2021-006, replace roof shingles at the Rosso Waterfront Public Washroom Facility in the total combined amount of $54,000 plus HST, and council does hereby approve the awarding of the contracts to Extreme Custom Carpentry. Could I have a motion to this effect by Councillor Coles?
I also move, Mayor.
And seconded by Councillor Fellner.
I second that.
And I'll ask Dominique to speak to this a little bit, to give us a little bit of background. Councillor Osborne, do you have your hand up on this one?
I'll hold till Dominic presents. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Just pretty simple report, just asking Council for recommending that they award the RFQs to Extreme Custom Carpentry. We have worked with them before. They did the roof at the museum. We would like to proceed with both at the same time, which is why we combined the RFQs. If there are any questions, please don't hesitate to ask.
Councillor Osborne.
Thank you, Mayor. Through you to Dominic. Dominic, I drove by the last couple of days and had a look at that Memorial Hall roof. Is there leakage happening or damage to shingles? Because
there is.
From a distance, it looked pretty good. I just wondered what the situation was.
Yeah, we actually moved. We had it originally in the 2022 budget to replace the roof, and because there is a number of leaks in the kitchen, we have moved it to 2021. So it is something that needs to get done this year.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anybody that attended the fireman's dinner 2 years ago can attest to those leaks, because we were being leaked on at our dinner table.
Oh no.
Are there any other questions? No. All in favor of approving the staff report? Thank you. Thanks, Dominique, for a comprehensive report on this one. And I have a resolution that, as per recommendation of staff report number CS-FC 2021-003, the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby accept the proposal from WSP Canada Inc. for RFQ 2021-011 Active Transportation and Trails Master Plan in the amount of $58,460 plus HST, and Council does hereby approve the awarding of the contract to WSP Canada Inc. Could I have a motion by Councillor Osborne?
So moved, Mayor.
Thank you, and seconded by Councillor Collins.
I'll second that, Mayor.
Thank you. Dominique, do you want to give us a little bit more background? Your report
Sure.
is comprehensive, but
yeah, this is a very exciting project. This is to recommend to Council to award the RFP to WSP Canada Incorporated. The master plan really will include a steering committee eventually. If this is approved tonight, we want to involve community members and stakeholders. So we will be reaching out to not only Seguin staff, but council members of recreational trails, residents, to form a steering committee as well. WSP presented a great RFP. As the report states, we did do quite a significant rating of each proposal. They all were very good in their own way, but this one definitely was above the rest. So we're looking forward to proceeding with this. I think it's really exciting to, not only connect our trails, but to see what we can do with active transportation and cycling networks. And I'm really looking forward to it. So if there's any questions, please go ahead.
Mr. Osborne.
Thank you, Mayor. Dominic, did the proposal, the companies get some sort of terms of reference on what we're looking for? An itemized list of wants on these proposals? I see all the good words, collective review, traffic, and comprehensive, and all kinds of great descriptive words. But was there a detailed ask as to here's what we want to do and why? I don't see that in the report, and that's what I'm wondering about. I'm sure there was more paper
Yes.
than what you're giving us.
Yes, so in the RFP itself, it was quite detailed as to what we're looking for, and there will be, there will be a number of phases of this master plan, and the initial phase is really for the proponent to gather the history, gather what we have now, and what we could do with that, and what we could create in terms of connectivity and linking everything together, and not just in Seguin Township, but in the areas surrounding us. So it is very comprehensive, but we're looking forward to seeing what they put on the table.
Okay, for one follow-up, Mayor. Could you mentioned greater than just Seguin. Can you give me a point A and a point B from and to where that would be included in this plan?
Right. I can't give you that right now, but I'm looking forward to seeing what they provide us with in terms of, okay, where are we starting from? Where are we ending? And how does that connect the whole of Seguin Township?
So we did not specify that. Okay.
No, not at this time.
Thank you.
Councillor Moffat.
Thank you, Mayor. One comment and then a question. I'm very pleased with this and have been waiting. So we've had it in our official plan for eons, and now it's actually coming to fruition. And sitting on a number of these committees, joining the area, it's a trail, for example, the Rose Point Trail that goes into Perry Sound and then connects through road, two other trails. Like that's the idea of connecting as opposed to hitting a dead end and then wondering what to do. My second comment, I've seen and spoken to these guys as part of the Ontario for Bike Summit, and they are, very good at what they do and they present well. But my question is have we ever worked with WSP in anything that we've done? I suspect the answer is no, but I don't know, because I know they broach over into transportation into Peters, kind of area as well. I was just wondering if we had any experience with WSP.
I don't believe we have, but I did a lot of research once I had received their proposal, and they've done some really great work. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Me too. Okay. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Dominique. I'm looking forward to it too. It's exciting. Can you, approximately when do you hope to hear back from them after phase one?
Well, our timeline is pretty short. So as soon as we get approval tonight, we'll be making a date for the first meeting to talk about the steering committee and things like that. But phase one, all the phases will include public consultation. So we will be updating council very frequently on the process.
We have a resolution on the table. All in favor? Thank you. Great, Dominique.
Thank you.
You got your marching orders. Go to it. We're looking forward to the results. We move now to business. I think it's pretty self-explanatory. Page 91 of the agenda package, Rotary is asking for their money back because we didn't proceed with the colonization road. I was disappointed, I'll tell you personally, that the wording of their letter indicated that there was no longer a partnership between Rotary and the township, and I would like to think that there still is, and that they will be active and busy participants in the public consultation of the active trail strategy. But until they see that, I know that the CAO and I have met with some of the members, and there's a little bit of a split as to how they feel about the trail strategy. But I am going to ask Jason to speak to it a little.
Thank you, Worship. And I just reiterate what you just said, is that we did have a meeting with another member of the as recent as last week, and that particular member confirmed their desire to continue the partnership and is very much looking forward to the topic we just discussed, the Trails Master Plan, and the Rotary's participation as a key stakeholder in that. So I think it's unfortunate that they feel this way. At least a member or two may feel that way, but I think in the grand scheme of things, they're going to understand once they're engaged as a stakeholder in the Trails Master Plan exercise how important they actually are. And for the benefit of council, I do want to share that I've reached out and offered to assist with any grants that they may be pursuing, and I think I've been invited to be a speaker at an upcoming Rotary meeting, and I'm looking forward to getting a chance to the Rotary Club themselves.
Great, and I think there's an opportunity, as we send this check back, toward the letter that returns the check, to indicate how active we want them going forward and how much they're important to us as a partner. That might clarify for some of the people that are not yet supportive. Councillor Moffat.
Thank you, Mayor. I did speak to Michelle earlier today. I just wanted to find out what they referenced 17,000, and I just wanted to find out what the final tally was that we were returning to them. That was all.
$17,534.96.
Thank you very much.
Welcome.
So staff will proceed to return the money, but I think there's an opportunity in the wording that accompanies the check to where we're going. Item 8B is a request, is pretty clear. We need a resolution. I need to read the whole thing.
Yes, you should.
Okay, I will read.
Ms. Rosewell is available.
Okay, all right. Kathy, I know you're here as a resource. I will first read the full resolution. I do want to say that this did come before the Airport Commission because it involves airport land, but Seguin and Perry Sound are the land owners, so the signature has to come from the owners of the land to allow this. So I will read the resolution. Whereas the municipality of McDougall, in a letter dated March 25th, 2021, has authorized Soundfield's Insulation to dispose of non-hazardous materials and asbestos material per regulations at the McDougall landfill site at 214 McDougall Road. Whereas Soundfield's Insulation has submitted a request to the town of Perry Sound and to the Township of Seguin for permission to temporarily store asbestos at their facilities located at the Perry Sound Area Municipal Airport, owned jointly by the town of Perry Sound and the Township of Seguin. And whereas the township has been advised that storage of said asbestos is anticipated to occur only in cases where Soundfield's Insulation has been unable to meet the day-end closure time of the McDougall landfill site, and that asbestos will remain in vehicles within its closed and locked facility at the airport for the next earliest delivery and disposal at the McDougall landfill site. And whereas the Perry Sound Area Municipal Airport Commission is responsible for overseeing the operation of the municipal airport. And whereas the township has been advised that Perry Sound Area Municipal Airport Commission has agreed to this proposal so long as Soundfield's Insulation operates in accordance with regulations. Now therefore be it resolved that the Township of Seguin, as joint landowner of the Perry Sound Area Municipal Airport, hereby agrees to permit Soundfield's Insulation to store asbestos in its vehicles and parked within its locked facilities at the Perry Sound Area Municipal Airport for earliest transport and disposal at the McDougall landfill site upon the following conditions. Number 1, the town of Perry Sound provides a similar approval. Number 2, that Soundfield's Insulation abides by all regulations and all necessary approvals remain in force. 3, that prior to expiry, Soundfield's Insulation provides to the township annually a copy of its certificate of insurance in an amount no less than $5 million, adding the Township of Seguin as an additional insured. And 4, that the Perry Sound Area Municipal Airport Commission, as landlord, enters into an amended lease agreement with Sound Seals Insulation, naming the town of Perry Sound and the Township of Seguin as additional insured, the requirement to annually provide a certificate of insurance to the landowners and any other amendments the commission deems appropriate. Could I have a motion from Councillor Finson?
I so move.
Thank you, and seconded by Councillor Collins.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll second that.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions for Kathy Rosewell from Sound Seals Insulation? Councillor Moffat?
I'm not sure if this is for Kathy, but have the same terms and conditions been presented to the town of Perry Sound and been accepted? Have they?
Sorry, yes, everything has been sent to them also. They have put forth a resolution. They're going over at council meeting tomorrow. They haven't, they didn't request or require for me to be there. They've already written up almost the exact same thing that Mayor just put out there. So, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? I will say that Sound Seals Insulation is a favored tenant at the airport. They're great tenants.
I'll pass that along to Curtis.
They are. They're great to see the trucks coming and going. So this is an addition of their work. Councillor Fellner.
Not a question, Mayor, just a comment. This is a fairly typical ask from the Ministry of the Environment for interim storage of waste in transit onto a licensed receiving facility. It isn't a case where they want to store the waste on site indefinitely. It's just when they can't make the operating hours of the receiving facility, it gives them the ability to store it in their building overnight or over the weekend or whatever. It's pretty common in the industry, and it's not really anything that we should be uncomfortable with, in my opinion, at all. So I just wanted to give you guys the benefit of my experience with it. Thank you.
Thanks. I see no further questions, so could I see it all in favor of passing this resolution? Thank you very much, and that's carried. Thank you very much, Kathy.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me tonight.
Waiting for a little while.
I haven't sat in on a council meeting since I was with the chamber, so it's just flashback to old days. So
you're welcome to attend anytime, and always watch us on YouTube.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. I have a resolution which I will read about the long-term care opportunities. Whereas Ontario's long-term care COVID-19 Commission's final report has now been delivered, and health system leaders in West Perry Sound want to be prepared for the changes that are expected to come. And whereas health authorities of the West Perry Sound District are working together, including the boards of the West Perry Sound Health Centre, Lakeland Long-Term Care, and Belvedere Heights Long-Term Care, with a vision to provide the best possible solution to long-term care and health care for seniors in our community. Whereas, among other considerations being proposed, is a new model of health care, a campus of care, which essentially provides a continuum of care for the elderly to age in place, including, where appropriate, their own apartments, other independent or assisted living arrangements, as well as long-term care, all affiliated with and in proximity to local primary health care and wellness services. And whereas it is also proposed that the community of seniors continuing to live at home be supported by our vision of virtual care, which would include professional, home-based health and wellness care supported by high-speed internet services. Therefore, be it resolved that the Township of Seguin supports these initiatives and the collaborative efforts between the province of Ontario and the local stakeholders to develop innovative and improved care for seniors in our community. I have a motion from Councillor Coles.
I will so move, Mayor.
And could I have a seconder from Councillor Osborne?
Second, Mayor.
Thank you. And I'm going to ask Councillor Coles to speak to this a little.
This is what we've been talking about for some time, and as I think I mentioned at one of our previous meetings, we have hired consultants who are working with us, liaising with the province to this end, and they had asked us if they could get resolutions from the municipalities to support the initiatives that we're working on, so that they're going forth with a unified voice. And so I'm going to ask Craig after tonight if he would send our resolution, providing it's approved, to the other municipalities that are involved. We're the first ones that everyone knows it's coming. Any questions?
Councillor Finson.
It's not really a question. My understanding is there is a campus of care in Penetanguishene. And I guess when things open, it was recommended that we go and have a look, because apparently it's a wonderful, just a wonderful thing. It goes from, you know, living on your own to living with care and hospital facilities. It's a really brilliant idea. And apparently it's a sight to behold if you go to Penetang to see it. So as soon as I can, I'm going to go and have a look at it. That was all, just a comment.
And just if I could just comment back that yes, and we've seen a presentation on their campus of care. And in addition to what they're doing, we're hoping to take it one step further. In fact, we've represented to our consultants that we want to be the leading edge of this kind of care going forward. So if the province wants to try something out, we want to be the group that they try it out with. So that's how open we want to be.
Thank you.
I want to just pay tribute to what Councillor Coles has undertaken. I believe you're the chair of this. Are you, Art?
I am.
And I understand there are a lot of meetings with a lot of stakeholders. And I see this as innovation, creativity, and improving the quality of life for the people that live in Seguin. So thank you for leading this initiative, Councillor Coles. I know there's a lot of cooks in the kitchen, but they do need a coordinator, and you stepped up to the plate. So thank you very, very much.
Thank you. We have a very involved group of people that are participating. Everybody's pulling their weight.
Well, it's exciting and it's innovative. And for the people that live in West Perry Sound, in Belvedere, and in Lakeland already, and for those of us that may be headed there in the future, thank you. All in favor of the resolution before us? Thank you. That's carried. We have item 8D, which came in your addendum, which is the reply from the community, the CPAC committee, of which Councillor Osborne is a member, going back to the questionnaire that was put before CPAC by the Solicitor General. So you have the full reply in your addendum package, but I'll ask Councillor Osborne to take us through it a little bit. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. In discussions, Joe Ryman has been our lead on this, and I'd like to publicly thank him for taking that on. He's had a lot of questions to the Solgen fielded, and we've gotten all the answers we're about to get at this point. It's a long process. He has the presentation, which you all got a copy from the clerk on, filled out presentation or submission. So after other councillors get to see that, he'll submit that, and it will be before June 7th, the requested date. And in speaking with our mayor and others, we see no need for a resolution at this point. We're just responding to a request from the ministry to submit this form under their conditions. We may have questions down the road as to costs and how they're distributed, but I don't see anything earth shaking at this time, so it's basically just an FYI. Thank you.
Councillor Osborne, for attending the meetings and answering questions and of many people in the community, some of which I sent your way. Are there any other questions for Councillor Osborne? As I read it, I see it as probably a broadening of an opportunity for community consultation. I don't see any negatives here, so I think it's a good step forward, and it's nice to be asked by the Solicitor General instead of being told what to do.
Exactly. Thank you.
So, thank you for bringing that to our attention. We have a bylaw that relates a little bit to Councillor Cole's motion. It's a bylaw number 2021-040, being a bylaw to establish a reserve for long-term care, is hereby deemed to have been read a first, second, and third time and passed by council. Could I have a motion from Councillor Fellner? Thank you. And seconded by Councillor Collins.
I'll second that motion, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. And all in favor of setting up this reserve? Favor, thank you. And now,
Mayor?
yeah, oh, sorry, Councillor Osborne.
Question for Councillor Coles, please.
Sure.
So, Councillor, I take it we're getting a refund. I think you mentioned this at a previous meeting.
I did, yes.
This doesn't happen every day.
No.
Can you explain just briefly how that happened? Was there a windfall on the part of these facilities?
I wish. No. What is happening right now is we have a diligent group of people on the board who are reviewing the Long-Term Care Act, as well as making decisions about day-to-day care of the long-term care residents. The Act itself says that we're allowed to keep up to 15% in reserve. We were 700,000 over our 15% in reserve. So we voted to send it back to the municipalities. And if you recall, last year, because of the same issue, we felt that the reserves were getting too high. We held the line instead of increasing with the 2%, whatever everybody else was getting. We held the line. And then on doing some further digging, found that, in fact, we were over. And we still have $1.5 million or a little more in reserve. So we're comfortable for less, just around a $10 million annual budget for Belvedere.
Good, thanks, Ray.
And the next resolution that I'm about to read will tell you how much is going into that reserve.
Yes.
So we have a resolution that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby approve the transfer of $250,406 from the general fund to the long-term care reserve. I have a motion from Councillor Coles to that effect.
I will make that motion.
And seconded by Councillor Osborne.
Second.
All in favor? Thank you.
Can I?
Well done.
Can I just add that part of the rationale for putting the reserve or putting the 250,000 in reserve is that the Long-Term Care Act also says, with referencing municipal long-term care facilities, that the long-term care facility can request additional funds at any time from the supporting municipalities. This protects us.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, we'll move to councillor reports, and I'm going to start tonight with Councillor Moffat.
Thank you, Mayor. Somewhat of a quiet couple weeks after recovering from personal tax season and allergy kick-ins. Attended a couple of webinars under the Muskoka watershed, the Love Muskoka, Sustain Muskoka. They've been very good, very popular, great topics, great hour. And it was supposed to be an hour and 15 minutes. It's kind of gone to an hour and a half thereabouts. So those have been well received. Finally had an opportunity to watch the steering committee for the official plan from our April 29th meeting, and that was a very good meeting. thankful that we had a small group of people that actually spoke, because I think it would have been a very challenging, 2 to 4 hours if we even got that far. So we've got a number of upcoming meetings on that, and just fielded some calls in terms of the wellness center and the summer maintained roads, and we had a very nice thank you letter from a number of residents on Otter Lake Road, with regards to the switching it over from summer, or switching it over from only summer maintained to year-round roads. So that was sent to the mayor and Councillor Coles, so that was well received. So that's it for me this evening. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Coles. Besides Belvedere meetings, have you had any time for anything else? Oh.
Not much, actually. We've had, more Belvedere meetings, and I just wanted to let everybody know that we're also issuing 2 RFPs, which one will resolve this week, doing a site master plan for the hospital property. And then the next one is we're going to be doing a building condition survey for the Belvedere building, just so we understand what the cost to replace it if we should ever not go forward with this exercise. In addition to that, a Chamber of Commerce meeting, and anybody that's on Facebook with me notices that they are putting a lot of information on Facebook, and I try to forward it every chance I get. The new group running the Chamber of Commerce are a group, I must say, a group of the most dynamic women, I think, north of Toronto, maybe even including, they just are go-getters. And I think we're all going to see some huge change in the business community. They're getting new members for a week, people signing up for membership. So that's pretty exciting. Other than that, constituent calls, I should say, around rental properties, that's still an issue. Planning issues, one today because there was an issue, somebody trying to start a permit process, and the information just kept cycling back in the planning department. They couldn't get the paperwork that they were looking for. So I've drawn that to Jason's attention, and I'm sure it's looked after already. And our facilities guy at the life lease that's associated with Belvedere, Glenn Decker, wants to become a volunteer fireman, and nobody's responding to us. I'm sure we need them, Don, don't we? I don't know.
Sorry, yes, Councillor Coles, through you, Mayor. I just actually, it was put in the mailbox. I'm working from home. I missed it, and I have his application. I'll be in touch with him.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, that's it.
Councillor Osborne.
Thank you, Mayor. Other than the CPAC questions and answers going back and forth, nothing much has been going on. I would like to express my thanks for you passing on our rep on the health units reports, Jamie's reports from the health unit, by you passing them on a pretty much daily basis. I put a call into one health unit today asking if there's any updates, and maybe this, I think you have weekly meetings with?
Bi-weekly, every 2 weeks with our health unit.
If I wonder if next meeting you could ask them what the plan is for second doses, because I know Trudeau says 1 dose summer, 2 dose fall, but when you got millions of doses coming in, I'm thinking we're going to get the second dose earlier. I'd like to, if you can, try and nail down a date, or get the health unit to ask for a date. It would be useful. That's all I have. Thank you.
Yeah, it gets asked every week, and the answer usually comes back. We're dependent on the province, and our health unit is not booking clinics unless they have confirmed doses. But I've spoken to several people who in the last couple of weeks have gotten their first dose, and they're being told that they will be getting emails, but it's all up in the air. And right now, Denny Fortin and General Hilliard are gone as our distribution. So I don't know. I think they should hire somebody from Amazon to be their logistics person. But I will ask the question. It's not this Thursday, but the following Thursday that we meet with Dr. Chiroko.
Apparently General Danny has a backup.
I don't know yet. I'm sure we'll hear it on the media. Thank you. Councillor Fellner.
Thank you, Mayor. I had a Committee of Adjustment meeting last week for the month of May. 3 applications. So not the busiest, but a few issues that we deal with. I think they were all approved. And I've had some more interesting times with Park to Park. We're wrestling with the issue of reopening the trail. I'm not sure whether we're going to be able to reopen it in its entirety. We may have to keep certain sections closed because of flooding. We've done some work, some aerial work. We have a pretty good handle on now, I think, through Tom, where why the flooding's occurring, and they're mostly beaver dams, and some of them are really big ones. And I think the plan is being formulated to sort of get the water down and keep it down. I know Public Works has started to improve parts of the trail, and we've got many sort of comments from residents around the township. Seems to be a lot of enthusiasm to bring this trail back to, its former state. So I think we're going in the right direction. It's sort of 1 step forward, 2 steps backwards some weeks, but I think we're going to get there in the end. So that's all I have.
Thank you. I know, similar to Councillor Coles, you are devoting an awful lot of time to Park, and for that, we thank you, because it is an important asset. Councillor Collins.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. We had a regular DSAB meeting on the 13th, and I'm just going to pass on some comments from our CAO that the staff is working diligently together with the Housing Services Corporation, which is HSC, to create a strategic plan, a 5-year strategic plan, and that's going continuing. I have a 10 a.m. Conference with Housing Services Corp on the 27th, and that will be a meeting to outline the scope of moving forward, and my comments on what I believe they need as well moving forward. I know reps from DSAB meet with Belvedere, and I know that with the Belvedere board, and I know that we are collecting and gathering information for a common vision and support to create a unified campus of care. So we are also behind the scenes knowing exactly what's going on with Belvedere. So my congratulations to Art and his committee, and it will be created. I'm almost positive of that, and so we are heading in the right direction, as you has also said, Mayor, with the support of DSAB behind it. Thank you.
Great. As I understand it, it's a true community initiative, so great. Councillor Finson.
I had a meeting of DSAB as well with Councillor Collins. Tammy told us a really heartwarming story about one of the families that was in the hotel, the new hotel system that they have, that there's 3 families that have moved out of that situation, out into jobs and out into their own places in the community. It's really successful, and they're getting just such great partnerships with the OPP, with the nurses station. It's a wonderful, it really is going well. And Tammy was just so emotional. It was very, very nice. We had a really great presentation from the housing department, from Pam. It's really well done. Actually, I just wanted to say that I do work at the health unit. I was there this morning, so I get regular updates every day on what we're changing. And the reason why we don't change when the province does is because we don't know they're changing. So when they announce things, they haven't told us yet. So, you know, we can't book appointments if we have no dates. Our dates come, just so you know, from the ministry. We don't just make them up and have clinics. We have to be told we're getting those dates so that we can have the vaccine. So the word is that tomorrow we're opening it up to 18 and over. I don't know if that's so, but that's what the word was today, that Tuesday, the health unit here will be opening up because the province has told us we are. So I don't know if we've got dates yet. I'm not working tomorrow, so I don't know what they're going to go through, but that's what we were told. That was our verbiage today when someone called, is that we're hoping to open up 18 and over tomorrow. We were only doing 40-year-olds today, but tomorrow apparently it's opening up. So that's the news that's what we were told today at the health unit is, and that's what we were telling people. Like that's what our line of speech was, that we were to tell people. So the second doses, we haven't got an arrangement to do second doses at this moment. We don't have the clinics to do second doses, but that will be coming shortly. We're doing some second doses for high risk people that we're doing specially to put them into clinics. The problem with second dose right now is we need to know what we're getting. So if you had Pfizer or Moderna, we have to try to book you into a Pfizer or Moderna clinic for your second dose if you don't have already a planned second dose. Like I don't have one because mine was done through the health unit because I work there. So I have to wait till somebody tells me when I'm getting my second dose. So, and if the dates change, that'll be done by the province. It'll trickle down to us and then we'll be told what we have to do. We haven't been told yet. So just a little bit of information. I'm there again on Thursday, but because I have 4 meetings tomorrow, including the strat plan, the RCAC, somebody worried about the lighting. I forget what her name was, Nancy, and then the transportation meeting. So I had to cancel my work because I have too many meetings on the same day. But other than that, just lots of phone calls about traffic, about internet. I sent out an email to everybody, just letting them know about the wonderful things that Peter has been doing with the traffic and with the seasonal roads. So I sent that out to everybody so they could have a good look. And the comments I got back was, when are we getting internet? And so that was, I had several people ask me about internet, both last month and last meeting and this one. Anyway, that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for everything you're doing to build a community. I will quickly go over where I've been. May 4th was an airport commission meeting, and I can tell you that the runway work is on time and a little bit ahead of schedule, but definitely on budget. And it really, the clearing of the land is very visible when you're there. And obviously the airport is looking forward to opening up the province so they can reopen the cafe. That's been closed and the workers have been laid off and our EI. So that's important for the airport. Also, Gail and I attended the Transportation Committee meeting. I think I mentioned at the last council meeting that it's not just going to be West Parry Sound surveying our residents. It'll include Amalgam. So all of the district of Parry Sound and the entire survey now will be online. And we're looking at how to get people adjusting to it, as well as websites and stuff. There's some consideration going to maybe doing public service announcements for sure, but possibly some ads on the radio stations and newspapers to draw people's attention to it. We're hoping for a June launch date. The small committee had a airport meeting with Jason to kind of talk about immediate next steps. May 6th, Jason and I did meet with Donald Sanderson in his capacity as a member of the Rose Point Trail, and he was extremely interested and supportive of the trail strategy, and I think through him we'll get Jason the Rotary meetings. May 10th, you're going to hear a little bit from Jason in closed about a wellness center meeting that happened. On May 13th, the biweekly meetings that Councillor Osborne referred to are Thursday afternoons at 1 o'clock with Dr. Chirocco. So we had one last Thursday, and so we'll wait a week, and then another one. They do ask questions. You have to pre-submit your questions, but most of what we hear, we've already heard in the media. There's not a lot of new news, and all of their answers are scripted. So it's hard to get real dialogue going. It's better than nothing. And I don't know how many of you I'm going to see tomorrow at the annual phono meeting, which starts at 8:30. I'll be online at least most of the time. It looks like a long sit. Councillor Moffat, you have a question?
Yeah, just on the phenom, I was trying to figure out, I saw some emails about registration, and the last I saw was just go to the website on the day of the meeting. Is that?
You can go to the website now.
Okay.
I printed it out. The Zoom link is on the phone. If you go, the website is actually, I think it's called Phonom Annual Meeting. The agenda's there. You don't need to register, but the Zoom link is right in there.
Okay. Because I looked after our last meeting, and I'm thinking it didn't seem to be all that, complicated in terms of the registration. So I was looking for something more. Okay.
Well, they actually say no registration is necessary. Yeah. So I can't imagine we're going to be able to see everybody on Zoom if all of the northern municipalities, I don't know how they're organizing it, but we'll see.
Thank you.
And that's my report. Jason, do you have anything to? Okay. So I have a resolution that Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby receive the board and committee agendas and minutes and the correspondence as presented on the agenda for the May 17th meeting of Council. Could I have a motion from Councillor Fellner?
So moved.
Thank you. And seconded by Councillor Moffat.
I'll second that, Mayor.
All in favor? And I have a motion that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin hereby proceeds to a closed meeting at 6:12 p.m. in order to discuss matters pertaining to a position, plan, procedure, criteria, or instruction to be applied to any negotiations carried on or to be carried on by or on behalf of the municipality or local board for proposed developments updates and a broadband update. Trade secret or scientific, technical, commercial, financial, or labor relations information supplied in confidence to the municipality or local board, which, if disclosed, could reasonably be expected to prejudice significantly the competitive position or interfere significantly with the contractual or other negotiations of a person, group of persons, or organization, and that pertains to the broadband update, and information explicitly supplied in confidence to the municipality or local board by Canada, a province or territory, or a Crown agency of any of those. And that relates to the Wellness Center and Pool Committee update. Could I have a motion from Councillor Coles?
I will so move.
And seconded by Councillor Osborne.
Second, Mayor.
All in favor of moving into closed?